Swedish telecoms giant Ericsson is known to have one of the strongest IP portfolios in the business, holding many patents that other players in the telco industry have to adhere to. But the Chief IP Officer and Senior Vice President Kasim Alfalahi is actually not a lawyer by training. In fact, he says that's been to his advantage in this role that he's held since 2005. He told IM Magazine's editor-in-chief Geoff Wild here at the Palace Hotel in San Francisco for the IPBC Global Congress that he reports not to the legal department but to the business. He speaks to the chief executive every other week, presents to the board precisely because this is a matter not just for the lawyers but for the business at large.
I think what's important for us as a company is to grow the business, not really the IP business. The IP business is very important too because it allows us to invest in new technology. Like right now we are already heavily invested in 5G, but also it allows us to have a healthy ecosystem. We drive very much the ecosystem to grow. For us it's very important that almost every 2-3 years has been another additional 1 billion new subscribers worldwide. That's really, really important for Ericsson. You know, I think end of last year we were at 6.6 billion subscribers. Wow. So it's extremely important that we have that, and it's a healthy growth. And it's been a steady growth every year. Now going forward, if you just look like 5 years ahead, we will see the whole, everything connected. Everything that deserve or need to be connected will be connected. So you see the cars are getting connectivity already now. The whole network society, the Internet of Things will be there. And for us, the whole licensing has to work very well. It has to be accessible to the market. The technology we have has to be accessible to the whole market. And it has to be at a level where it's affordable for new players to enter the market. So when I present to the board, I present how would IP going forward work in the whole vision of network society. How will it all work out? How will we get new players, new verticals? The whole healthcare sector. How will that be connected? And how IP licensing would work in the whole space. So that's really my role in the company.
Okay, and that takes us on to the Ericsson portfolio, which is, I think, widely recognised to be one of the strongest in the industry. A lot of standard essential patents in that portfolio.
Yes.
And at the moment that's quite a hot area. I know there's been certain controversies around what's been going on with the change of patent policy at the IEEE. Yeah. What's your view, what's your take on standard essential patents, and what do you think of the way the policy is developed at the IEEE?
I think our take on the standard essential is quite simple, I think, and very clear. I think licensing, having essential patents, it's actually very, very important for the growth of this industry. The alternative is for companies like Ericsson to keep a lot of the technology proprietary, which gives us an edge compared to any other player. And that's something which will harm the consumer. So what we believe in licensing our patent portfolio on FRAND terms is an agreement between us and the standardization. The third party beneficiary is companies who are using it, but also it puts a requirement on us to be fair, reasonable, and non-discriminatory. But also it gives it at the same time adds a requirement on the people using the technology to be willing licensee.
Yeah.
It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
You can't have one thing on the other and not the other.
Yeah.
And on IEEE, what happens is that the whole process was not open, not transparent, and the outcome of it is, in a way, we feel that is not really valuing the investment companies make, not only Ericsson, but other companies make to make the technology available and open to anyone. And this balance, it's a balance, and that balance is very, very important going forward.
So, if I'm a consumer, that's quite worrying. Is there still an incentive to create standards essential patents? Does that Does that still exist, or is it now something that companies like Ericsson are going to think, well, we will keep these patents for ourselves and we won't enter into standards anymore?
It's a very, very good question. I think that obviously we think about it a lot. It's an important part of our strategy and our analysis. I agree with you that it will really harm consumers if companies like Ericsson keeps proprietary and not open up. Again, we started, if you look at it, we started years ago with different technology in different parts of the world.
Yeah.
And that's not really a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like 15 years ago. We had different standard in Japan, different in Europe, the US was different. It's actually 4G where it's the first time where you have a harmonized, where you can use your phones everywhere, and the growth you have that. I think there is nothing else, nothing you can compare to the growth of the mobile technology. Right now, if you look at the alternative, what's the alternative is having connectivity where you use Wi-Fi, which is not going to work because you want to move and you want to be able to use the technology. So is it worrying us? It does a bit. Do we think that it's going to harm the consumers? Yes, and I think at the end of the day, the standardization and open standard will be the way to go anyway.
Okay. An area that's become a lot more talked about in IP over recent years has been the whole issue of privateering, where operating companies outsource a certain level of litigation enforcement to a third-party MPE. And you've recently been subject to a level of criticism about the relationship that you have with Unwired Planet, an MPE based in the United States. I just wonder if you could sort of give us your perspective on that relationship, why you're in it, and whether you accept criticisms that it's damaging to the broader ecosystem.
Absolutely, I'm happy to do that. So with Unwired Planet, like any other investment, the way we view the patents is an asset. And the patent assets means that you can monetize them in a different way. You can sell them, you can license them. I think there's a lot of talk about privateering, MPE, patent trolls. I think it's not really, the most important thing is the behavior of a player. I can tell you that there are players who are practicing entity, operating companies who act in a way which is damaging for the industry.
Yeah.
And there are players who are non-practicing entity who are licensing in a very constructive way, in a very professional way. For us, when we make a deal, we make sure that the companies who are taking over our patent portfolio will be a responsible player in the market. That's really the most important thing.
Yeah, I guess it's worth noting that actually it's one of the most transparent relationships out there because there's been so much disclosure around it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you read all the disclosure, you will very quick come to the conclusion that they have to. Unwired Planet, they have to have the same commitment that Ericsson has to the standardization, and they have been acting accordingly. They have been trying very hard to license the portfolio. Of course, there's a lot of players who are not acting as willing licensees. They delay the process because they know that if they delay the process, they will put pressure on the patent holder because they have cost and they will have to go to litigation, and that will have a huge cost on the player. So I think, again, what is important is the balance.
Yeah.
The investment that is made and the return of on the investment with the companies who are using the technology and becoming extremely successful for a technology that they themselves didn't create. It's important, the balance.
Yeah.
And the balance has to come into place.
Yeah,
and I think it's going that way.
Yeah. So you talked about patents as an asset, and that you're managing your asset to create the value. We had a session this morning looking at patent values now and into the future. I just wonder the way that you're seeing the patent market develop, both in the United States but more broadly as well.
I think the patent market is developing in a way where I think the valuation of patent portfolios is very much focused on the value, the quality of the patents. And also, there's a lot of talk about, essential patents or FRAND patents are kind of devalued or not. At the end of the day, the most important thing is what is the value for me having these patents compared to another players. I think that there are companies today who are giving a very high valuation for patents which are not essential patents, just because, just because they have a FRAND commitment. In my opinion, the FRAND commitment is something that doesn't devalue the patents. It actually is connected with a huge investment that the company has put in together to make these patents part of a technology which is chosen. Remember, the patents which are chosen to be part of the standard, they are chosen because it is the best technology, and it's a democracy. It's a lot of companies, both the suppliers but also the operators, the service providers, who vote to pick the best technology. So there is a lot of value in those patents.
Yeah, and just staying on the market, traditionally the market is really centered on the United States. People I speak to are saying that there's a drift towards Europe. People are getting more interested in Asia. Is that your experience as well, would you say?
Yes, I think that the latest development in the US with the IPRs and some of the judgments out there has driven focus away from the US to Europe, and actually even to other places in Asia.
Yeah.
And that change is significant right now. I think it will come back. I think, I really do. I think that we will see a swing back where we see a more balanced approach, because the US is extremely important for innovation, and innovation is connected to protection of those innovation. And we cannot miss that. I think I hear a lot about people in the Silicon Valley saying that, well, patents is nothing to have, it's just kind of in the way. I think it's completely wrong. I think the value of anything that you create has to be connected to the protection you have and the assets at the end of the day that you have.
Okay. So just to finish off, one of the interesting things about you is you're not actually a lawyer. So you head the IP business of a major international company, but you have no legal background. I just wonder if you could sort of talk me through how you ended up working in IP, and whether not being a lawyer, has ever been a disadvantage to you as you've built your career in this area.
Well, yeah, my background is I have a double E and also management experience. So no, it has not really. Actually, it's been an advantage for me not to be a lawyer, because my team is comprising of lawyers. I have technical people, I have business people, I have patent people, and I think we work very well together. The way I see, the patent and licensing, I see it as a pure business. I mean, meaning that I see the value of them, and I see their investment we make, which is $5 billion a year. We do, and I see that we have to get return on that investment. Otherwise, we would not build the new generation technology. All of this it helps to look at it from a business perspective, and that's really my role in the company. I have a business role, and I don't think it would have hurt if I was a lawyer, but it's not a problem that I'm not a lawyer. It's just an asset for me. I see it as an asset.
And do you think more non-lawyers are going to get involved in IP in the coming years?
I hope so. I really do. I think it's important that non-lawyers. It's not automatic. It's not just because you're a lawyer. It doesn't mean that you will run the patent business in the best way you can. And actually, the reporting structure, I report to the CEO of the company. I've never reported to the legal function, and I think it's been the way we've viewed this is that within Ericsson is that this is like any product, like any business we run. We run it and we report to the business people, and now I report to the CEO.